In this video, we're going to talk about the air terminals and the type mapping and how these host families were set up. I have the test view open right now, which shows all of the air terminals that we have placed for review and tagging purposes. I also have the browser open over here, and as you can see, these families represent the host families for the air terminals in the MPP. What are these host families again? These host families essentially is putting all of the intelligence and the auto sizing and the performance tables in one family, and then that family has a whole bunch of nested geometry from manufacturers or from third-party content or other sources. So like if I expand out this supply diffuser round neck family, here these types actually represent nested families within this family. So essentially these are Titus families. They're based upon Titus air terminals. We use Titus air terminals for all the geometry. They had a high level of detail, which was really nice to see on the plans. But in regards to scheduling and tagging and all of the shared parameters, we tied that into, we kept that in the host family. So this allows you to use this process for other manufacturers, or like I said, for your own content, because essentially all the intelligence is in one family. So let's look at how these are set up. I'm going to edit this family here. So these families have the articulated Cartesian arms consistent with the rest of the mechanical productivity pack. That allows us to move the nested family wherever we need to. So if I select this is essentially a family from Titus. It's a face-based family, so it has to be placed on a face. So rather than placing it on the face in the family, we're actually placing it on the face of the articulated Cartesian arm. And that allows us to move it around, move it up, move it down. I'll show you some examples of that in a little bit. So in these families, what we have is literally a whole bunch of nested families from a given manufacturer, in this case Titus, and all of their types. So we have built in the functionality in the host family to choose what type to display from this given manufacturer. So if I look at this given family again, it does have a couple parameters tied to it, and the important part to note is that every one of these families will need those same parameters. That's part of how these families were segregated after being all combined into one family. So if we look at our properties, and actually I guess in this family we have very little tied to the specific family. Let's go into edit type. So sure enough, I just opened the case where we have very little tied to Titus's family. I'll open up another family and show you a bit more with that. So essentially what we did is this is one family placed, and then we used this label, which is a family type selector parameter. And in our case, that parameter is called air terminal type selector. And this is where we built all the intelligence into switching what this family is. So in our properties here, okay, let's go down into a category that I don't recommend people playing around in, just because this is where all the equations are, and this is where all the intelligence is for some of these host families. Essentially, we have the parameters controlling the arms. Those should look familiar. And then we have these family type parameters. So if I select this and we hit edit, so it's a family type air terminal parameter. And essentially, we've set this up and mapped a given Titus family to that. So each family type in here is essentially a model from a manufacturer. So we have all the 12 by 12 module sizes and all the neck sizes. And then we essentially chose what Titus type to display for the given condition. So right now, let's go up into constraints. Okay, so right now we have a 6-inch neck that's being used. So all of these types, these parameters here were developed from different situations that we came across in the families. So some families will have stuff tied to them and others will not. So if a family is not found, or if there's no type available and the user inputs are asking for, say, a 12 by 12 inch, 8-inch neck, this is what is displayed, the air terminal no size. So we got a 24-inch face. We don't have a 16-inch size down here. So what this means is if a user selected 16 inches, and then we hit apply, this is what is displayed in the project. So indicating that there's no type available for that. We also in Message Center here, we're indicating to the user as well, there's no family type found. So a couple different error checks for that. So, like I said, these types get mapped to a given manufactured nested family type, and then that's how we're choosing what family to display. So let's go up to, here's the one that's actually driving the placed family, the placed nested family. That's this, which has the formula. And as you know, you can't put formulas in family type parameters. However, you can compare family type parameters and choose one based upon a set of conditions. And that's essentially what we've done. So this equation ends up being very, very long because we essentially have to go through every one of these type conditions and determine which one to show. So up here in constraints, let's do a couple things. So one, we have instructions here that are telling us what to do. We have a lay-in sizing instructions. We have 12 by 24 module and a 24 by 24 module. Let's say someone picked a 24 by 12 module. We're going to hit apply. And once again, nothing's being found because the 24 by 12 inch lay-in module size 4-inch does not have a type available from the manufacturer. So type 24 by 12 module, and then there's no 4-inch size, so no size found. Even if we plugged in 6-inch here, it would be no size found as well. So that essentially is what is going on in these host families when you're trying to select a given family. I would encourage you guys to talk to more manufacturers about getting this set up. There's no reason that this couldn't be applied to more manufacturers and more types mapped. I guess I also wanted to point out that we did include a custom, where is it? So custom selection type. So if you guys had a situation where you had a family, you wanted it to tag, you could nest it into here, and then you could create a new type, and you could use the custom selection type to choose just that type without having to map everything to these parameters. So the custom selection type essentially trumps everything that's already active. So for example, if we chose a given diffuser here, so as you can see, the air terminal type selector has changed to that. So this is a form of an override. When this is on no air terminal, no type found, it's not used, but when it's any other value, it is used. So I'm going to jump back real quick to another family just to show you what some of the linked parameters look like. So if we look at this supply grill family, and let's choose a type. All right, so this given family now, it has some parameters tied to it. In this case, and it was how Titus had their family set up. These were instance parameters. So essentially we're sending it the duct width and the duct height from the host family to drive the geometry in the nested family. In this family, you can also see that small square face, which is the articulated Cartesian arm. And I'll show you essentially what's going on when you do some of those properties that we outlined in chapter 8. So like if you gave a face offset to the family, so say it was placed on a wall or a duct and you wanted to shift it off, essentially that arm is moving it off of that face. I'll try to turn on the arm here so you can see it. Okay, so now as we also showed, if you didn't have a ceiling and you wanted to place this on the slab and use this face-based family, you can put the face offset back to 0. So you can say, choose this parameter, use AFF elevation for offset. And what that's going to do is that's going to flip this arm around so the diffuser now is upside down, which doesn't make sense for ceilings. However, when you place it on a level, it makes perfect sense. So then you could give it an AFF elevation. So we could say 1 foot again. And now this air terminal can live in both worlds of face-based families and free families, all thanks to the arms. Thank you.